when I joined the military, it wasn't the easiest times. If people remember in the 1980s, there was actually a fairly big recession, and my parents, they worked they were working very hard. My dad was doing like 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills and whatnot. So when I joined the military, um, I wanted to get an education, but I knew that my parents couldn't afford it. It just the economy just wasn't there to allow for my dad to make enough money to pay for everything plus my school. So my intent truly was to get an education, and I I also wanted to serve my country. It just seemed to be a very good balance of getting a free education, getting a job at a time where jobs were actually hard to get as well. Um, and it didn't cost my parents, it wouldn't have cost my parents anything. What people would have seen in 1987, or well, I guess 1986, when I walked into the recruiting center, was a young 16, 17-year-old young man. Uh, in my own mind, and I guess you could see even my own understanding of myself at the time, I viewed myself as gay. I was attracted to boys, to men, to other. I mean, 16 years old, I'd still say we were boys, but I viewed myself as being gay. I still hadn't even understood enough about myself, terminology, just I didn't have enough education to understand who I was or what I was to lead me to where I am today. I guess it was a bit difficult for me, but being such an introverted person, I basically hid in plain sight everywhere I went. So people never really did get to know me. They never really did get to know the truth behind me. But it was always like a pressure, a burden on my shoulders of wondering, who would figure out who I was. And the sad thing is that kept me from making a lot of friends and building relationships with people I served with in my case, for over 3 decades. By the time I'll be honest, by the time I was actually out of university, out of military college, and was actually serving with the unit, by that time I had actually learned the word transgender. I understood what it meant. I understood that it helped me. The article that I read that helped me learn this made me understand that I could feel one way on the inside, even though on the outside I looked different, and that you could actually do something about it. Not that was actually possible at the time, and I'm not saying not medically possible, but at the time I found this thing out, it was still, it was like 1991, and it was still even illegal to be gay or lesbian in the military, let alone transgender. For over 2 decades, I basically put my own family, my spouse, my children before me, before my needs. And ultimately that led me up to about 5 years ago when I guess you could say life, mentally, physically, I had to transition to be my authentic self. I was having problems with memory. I was losing focus. Even my spouse at the time looked at me and said, you're not the man I married. You're not the father, the same father to your children. What's wrong? And that's when I went and got if you want to say, the help or the assistance that I needed, and then, if you want to say, became the person I am today. But this wasn't without, I guess you could still say, spending almost 3 decades of service in the military, with always wondering, if somebody's going to ask the right question, or we're going to look at my medical records or do something, and all of a sudden find out that I wasn't the person that I said I was at that recruiting center in 1986 and 1987, and then tell me, I'm sorry, but this was all based on a lie, and we're gonna let you go. I pride myself on not lying. I tell the truth. Throughout my transition, I had a lot of people referring to the fact like I was living a lie, or I was lying to people about who I was, and that I should have been honest with them. It's a really a hard word, because in most cases I like referring to them as untold truths. And that all my friends, family, all they had to do was ask the right question, and I would have told them the truth. Who is the one person? The one person that surprised me the most, I would have to actually say, was my spouse. We're still actually great friends. I mean, it helps that we're also the parents of our children, but yeah, she surprised me, because and I told her this many times, I expected that the moment that I opened up about who I was and what I needed to do, that she'd say, well, you know where the end of the driveway is and where the suitcases are, be there within the hour. Because she married a specific person, a person that she saw, a person that she fell in love with. And I didn't end up turning out to be that person. And she could have easily just said, I don't want to see you again. But the day that I came out and told her who I was, she actually told me, she said, you know what? I can't promise you the rest of my life, but I promise I'll be with you all the way through your transition. And to this day, we still do things for each other. We still care for each other. So yeah, she was, I guess you could say, it's not that she surprised me that she was that good of a person, but what surprised me is that that I hadn't believed that she was that good of a person, that she could work through me changing from the man that she had married and that she had given her essentially her life to be there for me as I am now. Because of my work on positive space, at one point, I actually helped give a course to the Treasury Board Secretariat, and they actually invited me to not to the event in the House of Commons, but they invited me to one of the events afterwards at the Cartier Square Drill Hall, and I was there while the apology was going on big screen TV. And as I was listening to the apology, at one point I heard the words from Justin Trudeau, and for those who stayed and suffered. And at that moment, I did actually realize that the purge wasn't just about the people that didn't get to continue to serve, or who weren't able to serve. It still applied to those people that stayed in and were not able to be their true authentic selves because they had to hide. I actually cried at that point. I literally cried on the shoulder of my friend who was beside me. And at that point, I actually realized that, yeah, the purge actually affected me, because it didn't have to be somebody that was released back then. It is still possible, and it is worthwhile to be and live your true authentic life. That you're not going to run into problems doing that your whole life. You will find the people that you need when you need them. And it's worthwhile being your true authentic self.